Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using American Crafts Flags and Frills collection. I love making patriotic cards, so I always purchase the fun red, white, and blue paper collections that I find. I've already shared a video using Doodlebug Designs' brand new Hometown USA collection, and this time I'll be using American Crafts Flags and Frills paper pad. This is a 6x8 paper pad. There are 36 sheets, and several of the designs have beautiful gold foiling on them. In the paper pad, there are also a couple of sheets with cut-aparts. There's some borders and also sentiments and images. And I will be using some of them on my cards. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I'm using my favorite sketch from OWH. This is number 218. I selected some light blue and white gingham paper for the background. For the strip that goes across the card, I'm using some red and white polka dot paper. For a little bit of shine and separation, I'm adding a Love from Lizi peel off along the edge of the red polka dot paper. This is the clear color with gold overlay in the pinstripe style. Since I will be covering up some of the top portion of the red polka dot paper, I'm able to use some of the smaller leftover pieces of peel-offs. I'll wrap the ends around the back, layer this piece on some dark blue cardstock, and the blue cardstock I'm using in this video is from Cardabella. I believe it's the navy blue color, and I will link it in the description. I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the featured image, I'm using the firework design, and some of the fireworks have the gold foiling, so it's really pretty. Before adhering this panel down, I'll put a scrap piece of pattern paper behind the top portion. That way it stays at the same level. For a sentiment, I'm adding Let Freedom Ring, and this is one of the cut-aparts that's included in the paper pad. I'll layer it on the same dark blue cardstock. Before adhering it down, I will put a scrap piece of cardstock on the very left side of the sentiment. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere it in place. For final finishing touch, I'll add 3 gold gem stickers, and these are just gems from my stash. They do have adhesive on the back, but I am adding a tiny drop of glue just to make sure they stay in place. Using some of the scrap pattern paper, I will add a narrow strip on the inside of the card just for a little extra detail. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. The other 2 cards have star paper for that featured panel and the sentiment stars and stripes. For card design number 2, the card sketch is from MFT. This is number 626. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I use in this video, I share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For the background of my card, use the tone-on-tone star pattern paper. For the narrow strip on the left side, using some of the red, white, and blue stripe paper. I did add a Love from Lizi peel off on the right side of the stripe paper. I used the silver color in the pinstripe style. Then I layered the background piece on some dark blue cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and added my card front onto a card base. For a sentiment, I'm adding Happy Independence Day, and this is a stamp from Jaded Blossom's God Bless America stamp set. There are coordinating dies, but I'm not using them for this card. I use blue ink from Catherine Pooler, stamped it on some white cardstock, cut a fishtail on the very left side, then I layered the sentiment on the same dark blue cardstock. I will pop it up with some foam dimension, This is scrapbook.com's 1/4 inch foam in the 1mm thickness. And I'll adhere the sentiment at the bottom of the card, following the design of the card sketch. Using a small scrap piece of blue cardstock, I'll cut a fishtail and adhere it in the upper left-hand corner. Then for a final finishing touch, I'll add 3 white stars around the sentiment. These are from Studio Katia, and I'm not sure if they're available any longer. To adhere the tiny stars, I'm using some small glue dots, and I'll also add a tiny drop of glue. Want to make sure those stars don't fall off later. Adding 1 of the larger white stars and 2 of the smaller white stars. And I'm putting them inside the star design on the pattern paper. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. All of the cards I'm making in this video will be going to a local retirement home. Some will be used for Independence Day next year, since I already have enough cards this year. But other cards I'll set aside for November to give to the residents for Veterans Day. Now moving on to card design number 3. The card sketch is from Mojo Monday. This is number 533. Using the American flag paper for the background. For the strip on the left-hand side of the card, using a dark blue tone-on-tone design. And I'll be layering everything on the same dark blue cardstock. For the strip that goes across the card, I'm adding 2 of the border cut-aparts. The narrow border is a red grid design, and the blue border has tiny gold polka dots. I'll add both of those pieces on some dark blue cardstock, and for a little bit of separation between the two, I'll add a Love from Lizi peel off. This is the clear with gold overlay color in the pinstripe style. I probably should have used some of the small peel off scraps, since most of this area will be covered up. Before adhering this piece down, I will add some scrap cardstock pieces on the right and left side where it goes off of the blue tone-on-tone piece. Then I'll flip over this panel, layer it on the same dark blue cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For most of my cardstock layers, I add an additional 1/8 of an inch. For the sentiment, I'm using 1 of the cut-aparts, Sweet Land of Liberty, and there are gold fireworks all over the background. I'll layer it on the same dark blue cardstock, and before adhering it down, I'll put some of those scrap cardstock pieces behind it, just on the top portion. And I'll put glue on the back and adhere the sentiment in place. For embellishments, I'm adding some iridescent stars from Studio Katia. I'll put 3 around the sentiment, using 1 of the larger stars and 2 of the smaller stars. I'm using more of the tiny glue dots, putting them on the back of the stars, and I'll also add that teeny tiny drop of Barely Art glue, just to make sure they stay in place. It's never fun when the card recipient has bling falling off their card. Since I'll be hand delivering the cards to the retirement home, I can add as much dimension and bling as I want. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. The other cards have the sentiment, God bless America, land that I love. For card design number 4, the card sketch is from Cards TV. This is number 18. I selected 3 pattern papers and also 1 of the border cut-aparts. I love this flag border cut-apart. It has the beautiful gold foiling on it. I'll adhere the flag border on some of the dark blue tone-on-tone pattern paper, putting it more toward the top. Next, I'll add some Love from Lizi peel-offs along the top and bottom. I'm using the clear with gold overlay color in the pinstripe style. I'll add 1 of the wider peel-off widths at the top and a narrow peel-off width at the bottom. I'll wrap the ends around the back, layer this piece on the same dark blue cardstock. For the background of my card, using the red and white gingham pattern paper, And for the panel on the left side, I selected this fun star design. I'll layer the star paper on the same dark blue cardstock, adhere it on the left side of the card. Now I'll add this strip across the card with the flag border. Put some of the scrap cardstock on the very right and left side where it goes off of the star paper. And on the left side, I need a very narrow strip of cardstock. So I do need to cut down the piece that I already had ready. I'll put glue on the back and adhere the border piece in place. Then I'll layer the background piece on the same dark blue cardstock. Put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For a sentiment, I'm using one of the border cut-aparts that had a bunch of different patriotic sentiments. For this card, I use Old Glory. I'll layer it on the same dark blue cardstock, then adhere it on the right side of the star panel. This sentiment is a little wider than what's indicated on the card sketch. For embellishments, I'm adding some midnight blue crystals from Studio Katia. I'll put 2 in the upper right-hand corner and 3 in the lower left-hand corner. To pick up the crystals, I'm using Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. I'll add the small drop of Barely Art glue, pick up the crystals, then press them in place. And I'm using a variety of different sizes. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. The other 2 cards I used a different flag border and the sentiment Celebrate. And I think this set of cards would work well for either Independence Day or Veterans Day. When the card has firework images, I feel it works best for Independence Day. But anything with flags and stars is perfect for Veterans Day as well. For card design number 5, the card sketch is from Cards TV. This is number 45. For the background of my card, I'm using the tone-on-tone blue polka dot paper. For the wide strip that goes across the card, selected this fun flag design, and all of those stars have the gold foil finish. For the strip on the left side, I'm using a red with white flower design. And I'll layer everything on the same dark blue cardstock. I'll adhere the flag panel down first. And before adding the red and white floral strip, I'll put those scrap cardstock pieces above and below the flag paper. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere that strip in place. Now I'll layer my background panel on the dark blue cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I love using patriotic papers, and I feel like there's a good assortment this year. Last year there weren't a lot of collections that I really liked, so this year I stocked up on lots of different collections. And if you missed my haul video showing the different patriotic collections I purchased, I will link it at the end of this video if you're watching on YouTube. For a sentiment, I'm using another border cut apart, America the Beautiful. I'll layer it on the same dark blue cardstock, and I will pop it up with some foam dimension, using more of Scrapbook.com's 1/4 inch foam in the 1mm thickness. Now I'm not adding any foam on the very left-hand side. Instead, I'll put some scrap cardstock pieces there, since that area will be sitting on the red and white floral strip. For a final finishing touch, using more of the midnight blue crystals from Studio Katia, I'll put 3 in the upper left-hand corner and 2 in the lower right-hand corner around the sentiment. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. The other 2 cards are basically the same. I just used the sentiment stars and stripes. Now here's another look at the 20 cards I made using American Crafts Flags and Frills 6x8 paper pad. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. This is a beautiful collection. I love that it includes border cut-aparts and sentiment cut-aparts, and the gold foil detail is just lovely. As I mentioned earlier, all of the cards I made in this video will be given to the residents at a nearby retirement home. I will add a message on the inside, so it's happy mail for the residents. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.